Wow. Yeah, great group. All righty, everybody. Well, welcome to Longmont Yarn Shop and Meet the Teacher. We're going to let everybody get in the Zoom room before we start with anything. We still got a couple people coming in, but welcome. This is recorded, and we'll send out a recording link afterwards. So if you want to revisit anything, but this is your opportunity to meet the Longmont Yarn Shop teachers that we have scheduled for 2024. And we have a really great lineup. I'm thrilled to share with you. So we're up in the front of the shop. I'm Gail Sunberg Douse. It's my store that we started 11 and a half years ago. And Anne is here assisting. She's one of our teachers and staff members. And then the back of the store is filled with a bunch of people that are enjoying appetizers and libations. And we like to celebrate. And it seemed like a good opportunity to let folks come in and hang out and get to know each other. So we're glad you guys are here. And we're going to kick tonight off with our Fiber Friday guests. The Fiber Friday program is kicking off this Friday. And we have 4 amazing faculty from all over the United States and Canada presenting Fiber Friday content. And we have a special deal. You can save $156 if you sign up for the whole Fiber Friday series. And if you sign up in 24 hours, you'll save $166. So it's a great opportunity to get a really great learning experience under your belt. So what I'd like you to do is if you have any questions, put them in the chat. Ann and I will be watching for that. And we're going to go immediately to our first Fiber Friday spotlight, Carissa Browning. So Carissa, take it away.
Hello, everyone. How's my audio? Good. Okay, awesome. So, hi, everybody. I'm Carissa Browning, coming to you from my home studio near Dallas, Texas. And I'm going to be teaching 3 classes during the Fiber Fridays in February this year. Starting off on February 2nd, I believe it is, the first Friday in February, we're going to be doing Intro to Sock Knitting. And we're going to be working on these cute little baby socks as our first project. So we're going to start out working at the cuff, and we're going to work down with the leg, the heel, the gusset, the foot, the toe. I'll walk you through all the steps. If you can knit a hat, you can knit a sock. It's really not that much more complicated. So we're going to go through that the first Friday in February. The next Friday, so the 9th of February, we're going to look at different shapes of shawls, knitted shawls in particular. So I've got a whole smorgasbord of shawl shapes for you, from center down triangles or trapezoids, side to side triangles, side to side trapezoids, bottom up or top down, elongated, squares, rectangles, bias squares, bias rectangles, circles, different circles, pie, half pie, crescents, and kites. All of those different shawl shapes. I'm going to give you the recipes, the basic recipes. I've done all the math for you, and I'll show you how to plug in your own stitch patterns to be your own shawl designer. So very exciting that you'll get to customize your own shawl. Now I got to get all those little mini swatches out of the way so I can get to my next sample here. We're going to do a little bit of crochet. So if you are a knitter and you're looking to get into crochet, or if you crocheted, back when you were a kid and you haven't picked up a hook in a few years, this is the class for you. But we're going to make it a little bit fun. It's not just a beginner crochet class. We are going to be we're going to be making yip yips from Sesame Street. So we'll work in the round, we'll work back and forth in rows, we'll talk about increasing and decreasing, we'll add some fringe, some antenna and eyeballs. Oh, super cute. And now you have a little hanging organizer for your stitch markers, paper clips, Q-tips, who knows what. Every time I teach this class, I make another one. So as you can see, I am building my Yip Yip army, and we will take over the world. Won't you join me? So that's going to be the third Friday in February, the 16th. So I hope that you guys can join me for some knitting and crochet fun. Thanks, everybody.
And we picked that crochet class because we have a lot of people that are knitters that are like, I want to try to figure out crochet, and it's on my list, but then I don't ever sign up for a class. And so we thought this would be a great little entry class for folks that wanted to create something that might not have to be absolutely perfect. If it had a little bit of a style point here and there in the crochet technique, you'd be okay with it, but you'd have a chance to experience crochet and make something really cute for your studio. Or
Absolutely. Any little mistakes that you make, just add character to your Yip Yip.
yeah. And then there was a question that came in by phone call earlier today, so others might have it. Is the sock pattern included with your class?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so
You get a little baby sock pattern.
all right, wonderful. We're glad you're here. Thanks, Carissa.
Thank you for having
I
me.
don't see any questions in the chat, so we'll transition over to, I'm looking for Lisa K. Ross. Hello, beautiful Lisa K. Ross. Welcome.
There we go. Can you hear me? All right. Hey, everyone. I am coming to you from Bloomington, Indiana, so a little bit further north. And I'm really excited to teach some classes with you in April. So the first class that I'm going to be teaching is called Clever with Color. It's my most popular class, and it is so much fun because I talk about how to use color as a technique in your knitting. I love color. If you know my designs, you know I use so many colors. I'm a huge fan of mini skeins, and I have lots of tips and tricks about how to put color combinations together, how to put them in order once you've chosen your colors, and then we get to play around with the colors. None of it uses two colors in the same row. You're only ever using one color at once, but you're doing all kinds of little unique techniques to play with color in lots of fun ways. So I'm super excited about that one. April 12th, the next week, I'm going to be teaching the perfect pair. So it is another sock knitting class, and we're going to kind of take our socks to the next level. I am a huge fan of sock knitting. I have knit hundreds of pairs of socks, and I am excited to share some of the things that I've learned along the way about getting the right fit for somebody else, learning about how to modify things to fit your feet, and favorite cast-ons, bind-offs, and things like that, so that you are knitting socks with confidence. The final class I'm super excited about. It is New Angles in Knitting, and really, if you have knit shawls, it may not be new to you at all. You might just not even realize what you're doing. It is all about knitting on the bias. So in the fashion industry, clothing that is cut on the bias and sewn on the bias, it is more fashionable, it drapes nicer, it fits better. But it's also a lot pricier because when you cut fabric on the bias, you end up with a lot of waste. But with knitters, we don't have to do that. We can just pair increases with decreases in order to get bias knit designs. We get beautiful drape. Almost all of my shawls, shawl designs incorporate bias knitting. I've got scarves that pair those increases and decreases. So knitting chevrons or knitting asymmetrical shawls. I use that technique a lot. So it is a lot of fun. We're going to play around with a lot of different swatches and learn about what we're actually doing with our knitting to create these shapes.
Okay. Got some really nice fan mail in the chat there from Megan, Lisa, about the Huga Box knitting group and gathering. So,
oh, great. I'm so glad to hear that. Yeah, that was so fun coming on here and talking with everyone about the Lucky Break shawl. So good to be back again.
Appreciate it. Any questions for Lisa? Okay.
I do want to throw out one more thing, if it's okay. I have a mystery knit coming up. The details are going to go out in February, and I'm not going to get to teach my classes until April. So I want to let you guys know about it. I'm just going to pop my newsletter sign up in the chat, and then anyone who's interested can sign up and you'll get all my details.
I think we welcome that sort of thing. People want to know what's going on that they can be involved in. So please, all of our teachers, if you want to share other things that people can get involved with, so do it. Yay.
Thank you.
All right. We are going to head up north to Canada and visit our friend Caroline Sommerfeld. Welcome, Caroline.
Thank you. I'm so delighted to be here, and I am absolutely thrilled to be teaching one of my favorite series of classes through Longmont, because this one is a ton of fun, and it means that I get a chance to share the results of 30 plus years of research, which is always extremely edifying. So on March the 1st, we're going to do the first of 3 classes, and that's going to be a class that's going to do a deep dive into fibers, because all of the yarns that we love to use for knitting and crocheting and anything else that we can possibly imagine all have different types of fibers. And one of the things that will make a yarn behave very differently is fiber content. So I want to teach you all about different types of wools and how they're classed and how they will cause a yarn to behave. And I also want to tell you about all sorts of other exciting fibers, for example, camel downs and yak downs, and all of the ways that those might be prepared and how to look at them in terms of what they'll give to your knitting and what they might take away on occasion as well. The other thing that I'm going to cover is things like plant fibers, and we're going to look at how those will affect your knitting, what kind of projects they're good for, how they're put together, and so on. So we're going to do a very deep dive into fibers and fiber blendings so that you get a really good understanding of what's on the label of your yarns. And part of what we'll even look at is some of the things that are hidden in plain sight on yarn labels in terms of how you can gauge whether or not your yarn is going to be durable or not. And then that will take us to the second class on March the 8th, and that's going to be all about yarn structures, because yarns are made with all sorts of different types of amount of twists, so how tightly the fibers are wound together. They can be made with different types of fibers, different numbers of plies, for example, different spinning methods, and all of these yarns will behave completely differently when you knit them. So a better understanding of the construction of your yarn will give you a better understanding of how a piece is going to behave. So a swatch like this, for example, is 2 different yarn structures, exactly the same weight and yardage, but you can see that they behave very differently in the knit fabric. So that's what we're going to do in the second class, is we're going to do this amazing deep dive into yarn structure, and it will tie into your fibers if you choose to do the whole series in terms of what structures will make certain fibers, like cashmere, for example, work better in your knitting and be more durable. And then, as a hand dyer and somebody who is fascinated with color, class number 3 is going to take a deep dive, because all of it's deep dives, into hand-dyed yarns and how color works in hand-dyed yarns and how you can read your skeins and know what they're going to do when you knit them. So we're going to look at the different ways that yarns are dyed and how those make them behave once you put them into a project, because that can be the make or break for success there. So something like this might just look like a higgledy-piggledy mess of colors if you're not aware of the secrets behind it, but the class will allow you to look at this skein of yarn and be able to predict what it's going to do when you make a pair of socks or a shawl or anything else like that. As part of it, we will talk a little bit about some color theory and how we can use color theory, make it not scary, demystify it, and bring it into working with all those beautiful skeins of hand-dyed yarns that we seem to have in our stash and we're not quite sure what to do. So it'll be really fun because we'll be able to take all of those pieces, put them together, and be a lot more successful with the projects that we choose to make. So I hope you can join me for that last class on March 15th and hopefully the whole series. Thanks so much.
Well, this is going to be awesome. I was able to participate in Carolyn's Fiberside chat, and I was blown away by the amount of content that was covered in that hour together, and so many positive comments about how much they learned and how much information was packed in that hour. So 6 hours with you this spring is going to be like a college course, I'm pretty sure. We're excited.
Well, good news that I will mention is that I will be supplying a nice handout that you'll be able to give to all the students so that you'll be able to just sit back, relax, and not have to frantically write notes as I give you a dissertation.
Great. And one thing that some of our newer students might not know is we do record the classes directly on Zoom, and then we send within 24 hours. It's usually within an hour or less, but we give ourselves the grace of 24 hours to get you your Zoom recording, and you have access to that for a week. We ask you, of course, not to share that with other people, but you have that for a week to revisit and take more notes. Or if you happen to miss the live presentation, you haven't missed the content. So yeah, it's going to be great to have you. So we're going to take you off the hot seat. Oh, and one little sneak peek, we are going to bring in some of the ancient art yarns this spring, the soft nettle and the DK weight. And oh, it's on my shopping list. Remind me, what are we doing? Let's see. I talked to you and Dan.
I believe that you've also decided to go with the Lasco base as well.
Yes.
So Lasco,
yeah, tell them about Lasco. It's amazing.
Yeah, interesting one. And again, this comes to speak to exactly what we're going to do in the class. So it's a combination of two heritage breeds of wool that provide totally different things, and the sum of the two of them is greater than the individual. So it's a rare breed wool from the Isle of Man called a Manx Lachlan sheep, and then the other one is a Punta Arenas, which is a descendant of a sheep called a Corriedale that's found in Chile. And when you put the two of them together, you get a yarn that is as soft and fluffy as something that is a woolen spun, but is strong and drapey as something that is a worsted drapey kind of yarn. So it's a really neat yarn with a lot of character and an absolutely gorgeous color palette. So it dyes in really rich jewel tones, and that's thanks to the natural color of the wool.
Oh my gosh, I got to cast on something the minute it gets here. So all right, well, thank you so much for joining us. I'm just going to quickly hit on our other guest. Leslie Ann Robinson is not able to be here because of health issues in her family. She's got to cover some kid care, so she's at home taking care of kids. But she's going to teach 3 classes on brioche. And the first one is a basic brioche class using bulky yarn and 2 colors, and you're going to knit a hat. She promises me that this is going to be an experience that everyone can be successful in. We've had many people request brioche classes, and not as many people that request them tend to sign up. So maybe it's a little bit of fear, but I think if anybody can teach us how to brioche, it's Leslie Ann Robinson. So that's the first class, beginner bulky brioche via Zoom. The next one is elegant brioche. So once you get your confidence built, she's got a beautiful shawl pattern that is done in fingering or sport weight yarn. And it's a repetitive pattern with some increases and decreases that start early on in the project, and you'll be able to work through that. And then what would be better than that is to have a class the next week on fixing and finishing brioche for those of you that are like, okay, I'm cooking along on this and I'm having trouble with this, or this is a project I'm currently working on. How can I fix and finish this in progress brioche project? So all of her classes are 2 hours on 3 consecutive Fridays, and the first one starts this Friday at 4 o'clock Mountain Time. So Leslie did say if anybody has any specific questions, she'd be happy to field those through email. So you can email info@Longmont Yarn and we'll pass those along to her. So that's our Fiber Friday lineup. And I think I'm really proud of what our teachers are offering and that we get to host it. So it'll be great. Absolutely. All right, where are we going next here? I'll do a quick little cover. Another teacher has some health challenges and isn't able to be here live. Ann just lives about 15 minutes away from us, Ann Budd. And she's been teaching lots of classes for us in person in the past, but now she does everything on Zoom. She's also going to be part of a retreat we're hosting in May with Carson Demers. But until then, let's just tell you, she's teaching another one of her make it your own top-down sweater with set-in sleeves. This is a 8-week 6-session class. It's on Saturday mornings, 9 o'clock Mountain Time. What happens in this class is you start with the yarn you want to knit with. If you're wanting to do something fairly quick and be sure that you're done in the 8 weeks, you might use a worsted or bulky yarn. If you're a passionate person around fingering or sport weight or even DK, you can use that weight of yarn, and you come with your gauge swatch and some thoughts about what you want your final sweater to look like. This is for students that have knit a sweater in the past. This is not my first sweater class, but you probably learned in your first, second, maybe third sweater that this went really great, but this didn't go so well, and I want to be able to know how to modify and make a sweater that fits. this is my most recent class with her. This is Laramie wool from Mountain Meadow Wool, and I made a saddle shoulder sweater that fits perfectly based on the gauge that I wanted, based on the fabric that I wanted and the feel that I wanted. The first couple of classes, there's a lot of questions about how does this work and how does that work, but I promise you by the end, everyone is like, I can't believe I made this beautiful sweater and it fits me so well. And they're very proud. And with the knowledge of the one sweater that you've knit with Anne, you can approach any of the other designs like yoke or raglan, or there's a bunch of varieties of all the top-down sweaters. So that class is kicking off on Zoom in February on Saturdays. And again, Anne would field questions if you want to pass them through me. Right, Miss Melanie. All right, there she is, Melanie.
All right. Hello, everybody. My name is Melanie Neske. I am excited to be teaching Learn to Knit this March. Learn to Knit is also going to be kicking off this January, actually this Saturday, and Cheryl's got a full class of 8 students. So we're really excited to be teaching our newest knitters in the community. So Learn to Knit is a 3-session class at the Longmont Yarn Shoppe. And the March session is going to be running through, it's like the 5th, 13th, and 18th. Just double check. But we're going to be making these hand warmers in both sessions. So you're going to use 1 skein of yarn, and we have a couple of different options available. These are done in Malabrigo, which is a really nice superwash wool yarn, worsted weight, which will knit up really quickly. And we're going to teach you how to cast on, knit garter stitch, knit stockinette stitch, knit ribbing, bind off, and then seam up the edge to make a hand warmer that you can use this spring. These are really cozy, great for going on a walk or gifting to somebody if you want to make a really nice quick gift. So please join us for Learn to Knit this March and Tuesday evenings.
5, 12, 19.
5th, 12th, and 19th. And also as a bonus, you do get an LYS Manifesto bag complimentary for your session. So you can hold all of your projects and new goodies together. So looking forward to seeing you in March. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Melanie. Thanks, Melanie. Is Teresa going next?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Are you ready, Teresa?
Sure.
Let me spotlight you.
Okay.
All righty.
Hi, I'm Teresa, and I am a teacher. I help people with mistakes. I also work there. I'm going to be teaching Learn to Crochet. It's going to also be in 3 classes. I don't have anything to show you. I've taught this class a long time ago. I've crocheted and I've knitted for a very long time. That's pretty much it. You'll learn 3 different stitches. You can either do hand warmers or you can do a scarf. If you do the hand warmers, you're going to use 1 skein of worsted weight. If you're going to do the scarf, you will need 2. And when you pick out your yarn, please remember to go lighter than darker because you'll be able to see your stitches better. And that's pretty much it.
All right. Thank you, Teresa.
Thank you.
All right. And next we have Cheryl Sidlow. I believe she is teaching several classes.
That's true. Several classes.
Yes.
Hello, everyone. Melanie went a few moments ago and told you about Learn to Knit, which I teach quite often. And there is a session in January for that. Starts this Saturday. That class is full. If you want to try to take it this beginning this Saturday for 3 weeks, you could put your name on a wait list in case something happens. But at this point, that class is full. So you'll join the one in March with Melanie, I'm sure. And so the classes I am teaching, I don't know what days. They're all on my calendar, I assure you. But what they are, stranded knitting class. It's a 1-session class. That's 3 hours. It's on a Saturday afternoon. And I think it's either week after next or the week after. And in the stranded knitting class, you can choose one of 2 patterns. It's the same chart, same picture, so to speak, but you can choose to make this cowl or you can make a hat. Now this hat and cowl are ones I've made knitting along with the class. We do have some store samples here that are in navy blue and white. So it's a very contrast color. So you want to make sure to choose a good contrast. I had this as a scrap. I started knitting it to just knit along and thought I might as well finish it. So that's the stranded knitting class. You learn how to knit if you're a right-handed thrower. If you knit right-handed, you're going to learn to knit continental. And if you knit continental, hold your yarn in your left hand, you're going to learn how to throw with your right hand, because the technique we're going to learn is how to knit with one color in each hand. So, and that skill of using either hand just goes over into so many aspects of your knitting besides color work. So that's a fun class, and that's what we'll learn in that, how to read a chart. And yeah, worsted weight yarn, size 7 or 8 needles. It's a quick, fun project. That session is 3 hours. And then for all the beginners that we're bringing up from scratch here at the shop, we do a Beyond Beginner class. And in that Beyond Beginner class, we've chosen a stable of a few patterns to choose from. And they look fun, they look complicated, but they're not necessarily. You're going to be ready for those after your beginning class, or if you've ever knit sometime in your history and want to move forward with another project. So this is one of the patterns we choose. It's called Close to You. It's a free pattern by Justyna Lorkowska, and she's a Polish designer. And this is a free pattern by her. We can make this one. It looks complicated, but it's garter stitch with some yarn overs. It's about a 10-row repeat, so it's really memorizable, repeatable, and you make this beautiful shawl, scarf, however you want to wear it. This is the same pattern in a different color. So you can choose that. You can choose a triangular shaped shawl. This is a free pattern from Tin Can Knits, and the pattern name is Grain. And so you can use all one color for the grain shawl. You can use 3 colors. You can use 2 colors. You can make it your own with solid stripes, however you might like to do it. That's another pattern you can choose for that class. There's a couple others. I don't have the samples here, but they're listed on the website when you register for the class. You can see those patterns. And then you can always call the shop, or anybody here on staff when you come to get your materials can help you choose what yarn for which project and what's going to work out best for you. That is 2-session class.
And we have a lovely testimonial in the chat for that class too.
Oh, excellent.
Yes.
Thank you. Whoever put that in the chat. Oh, Megan. Yay. Yeah, so that's a fun class too. And like I said, I think it's 2 sessions. Is that right? Here.
Let me double check.
Sorry to interrupt.
No problem.
While Anne looks that up, today we just added Coconuts Sweater Workshop. Now I teach this class occasionally, and then when I'm wearing the sweater in the shop, one of the Coconuts pattern sweaters, I get a comment on it and somebody's like, I need to learn to make a sweater. And I like, we might add that workshop again. So we have just added that today. It is 2 sessions. It's on a Saturday. It's 4 hours each Saturday. They're successive Saturdays. One is March 23rd and March 30th, I believe. Those each 4 are classes. Now we choose out of the Coconut Sweater Workshop. This book is necessary to buy for the class because it has a lot of information. The first pattern we choose to make, because it's bulky weight yarn, so it goes pretty quickly, is the Emma. Now the Emma here is cropped and with a V-neck. You can also choose the Emma that is a boat neck and short sleeve if you'd like, or you can choose to make a cardigan. Now, all those are the same pattern base. And with the Emma, I have made that sweater twice now. One is not cropped and I put a braided knit. It's like an I-cord knit, getting too complicated for this class. But anyway, it's a knit on I-cord, so to speak, but I cabled it. So it looks like you have a cable around your V-neck. And I did the end, the arm and the bottom finish different. And on the second one I made it cropped. I did put ribbing at the neck and at the arm. So in that class, we'll be able to talk through many different features you might want to change to make that sweater your own and change out the neckline or the cuffs or the bottom or any way you want to do it in the coconut sweater workshop class. So I hope you can join us for second knitting and then your first sweater. So we'll love to see you. Thanks, everybody.
And to clarify, the Beyond Beginner class is 2 sessions.
Thank you. And I forgot this one. Double knitting. Double knitting is again, color work, 2 hands. Sorry. Yeah. Feels like, whoop. I forget this one a lot. So double knitting class is 3 sessions. We'll learn tubular cast on, matching bind off. You have mirror image because you're knitting from a chart and you're knitting 2 sides of fabric at the same time. So Snowflake Girl is the pattern. Double knitting is always a popular. Thanks again. Now I'm gone.
Thanks, Cheryl.
Bye.
All right.
Ooh, you've got a lot too.
I've got a lot. All right. I'm Heather McChesney and I'm teaching 5 classes or well, 3 classes and 2 knit-alongs are what I am doing. So the first one is the Papillon, the ever popular Papillon. I'm wearing one and this is just a 2 color, but the Papillon is really, really amazing with the earth yarns with that long color change and it makes that beautiful butterfly wing. So that one is the first one and that's kicking off at the end of the month, which is going to be exciting. So join me for that. It's knit both sides just all the way and then some easy short rows. So it's really easy. It's just a pattern that some people have really wanted to do and don't know the pattern or get a little concerned about the pattern. So it's easier than you think. The next one I want to talk about, I'm going to talk really fast, is the simple mittens. So this is a great opportunity to learn if you've not learned magic loop or double pointed. So if you are just getting used to knitting and you want to venture off into an easier project with double points or magic loop, you can do the simple mittens. That one is going to be in February in person as well. The next one I want to talk about is when you're done with those simple mittens, is the Sadanma mittens. So after you get done with those simple mittens, a great opportunity is to learn a little bit of cable. What I like about these ones is they have the best, I think, thumb gusset. Makes a really nice, warm, beautiful mitten. So that one is going to be in March. So when you're done with the simple mittens and you want to venture out into something a little bit more unique, that is the Sadanma. Perfect. The next one is the Festival Stitches. This was a very popular one this last season because what's great about it is there's a lot of ability to practice different stitches within one project. So you have some bobbles, you have some shaping, you have a lace pattern, a mosaic pattern, cables, some more lace, and then a twisted rib stitch. Makes a really beautiful mirrored image shawl. It's really long, beautiful. It's called the Festival of Stitches. This is a knit along done on Zoom, so you can join us from anywhere. It's a great project for those of us that have those yarns that you wanted to use up that match. And then the last one I want to talk about, grab it out of my, it's like a clown car in some of our bags. Yeah. This one is the Waiting for Rain. This is another Zoom knit along. What's great about this is there's a little bit of lace in here, so for some shaping. It's hard to see with the background. You can kind of see it as I move past my white in my shawl. So there's a couple of rows of lace in there. It is a crescent shawl. This one's great for if you want to use the bamboo that's above my head, if you want to use any of that fingering weight that you have in your stash. So I know that there was a question from Cheryl. Is there any questions for me?
We'll let you know if anything comes up.
Okay.
Thank
Well,
you,
I hope you
Heather.
guys all join me. Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much. Jennifer. Now we have Jennifer Miller joining us.
Hi, everyone.
Hello, hello.
I'm teaching some great classes. I'm Jennifer Miller. I'm a yarn designer and knitting teacher based here out of Longmont. I'm teaching some great classes and I'm so happy and thrilled to be part of the Longmont shop and all the class lineup, which is super exciting. I'm teaching 2 times. Right, to get my notes. We all have these bags full of things, right? And all these notes that we must. I did organize myself. Okay. I'm going to be teaching 2 sessions of the ladder back jacquard in February and in March, which is such a fabulous technique for figurative color work, like this beautiful thing, the passerine hat, which is, you know, this kind of hat or the bobble hat or any of the ones that have figures on them, like some of Nancy Bates's national park hats, like the ones with buffaloes and cactuses. So hard to get the tension right and still have a stretchy hat. I cannot tell you how many people have told me they've made the bobble hat and then they cannot get it on. This technique will take care of that. It still gives you stretch, and you will capture your floats, and the floats will not show through to the right side. So that's an example of what you can use it on. We'll actually be doing it on one of these somewhere here. Here we go. We'll actually be working on this pattern, which is called Love the Winter in worsted weight. This is a great way to learn it. Once you learn it on this simple pattern, you'll be able to apply it easily to any pattern. So it is a stranded color work technique. It's with a similar, it's got some characteristics of double knitting where you add a stitch in and create these columns that capture your floats on the wrong side. And that's the secret to the whole thing. And it's super easy. And so you can see here that when you have a long color repeat of stitches like this, like 12 across, it's still stretchy and the float does not show through to the other side. So super important technique that is still very, very valuable to learn, and it's not written into any pattern. So it does require modifying your pattern a little bit, but it's so worth it. There's an example. We'll be doing the Love the Winter hat. That's a free pattern on Ravelry. Here's some other samples of when it's great to use this technique. This one is so cute. The Copper Fox hat with these very long stitch patterns in the rows. And this is what it looks like on the inside, where you add the columns in. You add the columns in that take up those floats. And here's another great one, which is the Mountains of Japan hat. So pretty. And again, you have the very long color repeats of these white pieces here, and then the gray ones really long. And you only need to add in this technique just where that color work is going on. So that's really all you need to do. Then you can close those columns and go on in the solid color. So another really, really charming and needed for today because it's freezing cold today. So that one is great. And this is another one which I love. This one is the Fir Tree Cowl, which is a 2-layer cowl. I've been wearing this a lot this winter. And this one, you can just add in the technique whenever you need it and then close it off again. So every time right in here where there's a long piece, but it's only a little bit, you can just add one tiny column in right there and then close it up again. So there's some examples of great places to use it. And I'll be teaching that on February 3rd and March 30th. Those are both Saturdays. And February 3rd, 2 to 4, and March 30th, 10 to 12. And that'll be on Zoom. So it's a great technique to learn on Zoom because you can see my hands up close doing the techniques. And because I'll have my hand cam set up. That one is a super easy one. I've got all kind of tips and tricks for making it super easy to add into any pattern you want to use it on. And you'll be able to use this from this one class, you'll be able to take off on it, no problem. Then I'm also teaching Intro to Brioche. The easiest way I think to learn brioche is in 2-color in the round. So we'll be doing a 2-color cowl like this one. And this is a hand-painted yarn that changes colors here with a simple one in the background. Brioche makes a very beautiful thick fabric, and it is the very, very best for vertical stripes, very best. And then it also, of course, is completely reversible. So here you can see the other side of the cowl. And this is a 90-stitch cowl, so this is a great one for making a warm collar. Very beautiful. Here's some other ones. There's another one in hand paint with the Noro. And here's one where I switched the colors, but there's also different fiberways. So there's some boucle, there's some mohair, some solids. There's another one. So you'll be able to kind of design your own colors once you get going on that. And here are some brioche mitts, hand warmers, sort of like wristers, really. Brioche wristers. There's another example of a variation in brioche. And also, and the intro to brioche class will be on Saturday, February 17th, 1 to 3, and that'll be in person in the shop. So come and join me in the shop. Super wonderful to be in the shop and look at all the examples of brioche that you can make. Then I'll also be teaching a knit along in February, and this will be on Friday afternoons, Friday, February 16th, February 23rd, and March 1st, 4 to 6 p.m. And that'll be hybrid, so you can be on Zoom or in the shop. And then after that, we will set a time for show and tell. And we'll be doing, Anna's going to show, there's the pattern we're going to be doing, which is called Promises in the Dark by Cheryl Faust. Her mosaic patterns are truly, truly spectacular. This is a great introduction to color work and to mosaic stitching, which is really easy. And you can make a very dramatic piece with a hand paint or self-striping like this one is, or 2 solids, or it can be 2 colors that are close to each other for a more subtle effect. And that'll be, as I say, 3 sessions, February 16th and 23rd and March 1st on Friday afternoons. And that can be done with 3 skeins of DK or 2 of fingering. So you can be working on picking your colors out before we get going on that. So come and join me. Super fun. Wonderful to see you all.
Thank you, Jennifer. All right. Welcome, Donnie, to the spotlight. Sure.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Donnie, and my classes are steeking, a steeking class with coasters, and then Knit Companion, which is a knitting app, which can be used for many other things. First, steeking. Why would you want to cut your knitting? Well, stranded color work and is easier to do in the round. And your tension is usually better as well because you're not purling back, right? That's kind of the biggest reasons. But sometimes you want your thing that you knit to be flat. So like a cardigan, or maybe a coaster. So this is one that I've cut one of the steeks and then left the other to kind of show in class. But my pattern is written for color work or as a single color as well. So, well, single color or single yarn. So for those who kind of want to steek, but don't necessarily do color work. So that, and it's a small project because it's low risk, and then that will gain you confidence to maybe do, say, a cardigan later. So that's a really great way to do that. The other class I'm teaching is Knit Companion, and my 101 class is all about the free version of Knit Companion, which is an app that you can use on iOS devices and Android devices for knitting. And I think people use it for crochet and other things as well. But mine, we're focusing primarily on knitting. You'll learn to navigate and identify key screens in the app and learn to load patterns from all different kinds of forms, including from paper, which is a huge one because you can take those old magazines, take a photo, and load it into Knit Companion and use the app the way it's meant to be used. You'll learn to keep track of your pattern and learn to have multiple projects at once. And Knit Companion can do that. It gets rid of all your paper, except for when you do want paper, because even I still use paper. We'll also learn to link your Ravelry account, which is super handy. And I'll teach you how to use several cloud-based storage devices, which is very handy as well, backing up your projects and things, because we know when technology is involved, when there's a problem, it's a big problem. You'll learn to keep project notes and navigate multiple projects, keeping project notes like maybe you're using this yarn, or maybe you're using this size of needle instead. Those are really great ways to make that work. And this is all just the free version. In the end of the class, we usually have a little bit of time to kind of explore some of the not so free aspects of the app that, and I show you kind of a workaround that as a free or non-subscriber, you can actually get to experience those. So that's cool. We have 2 opportunities via Zoom for this class. That's February 7th from 6 to 8 p.m. and then Saturday, April 6th from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. noon. And those are Mountain Time. I don't think I said the times of the Steeking class, but Anne is zooming all of those
Yes.
links in there, so they'll be easy to find.
Yes.
And I hope to see some of you in the future.
Thank you so much, Donnie.
Thank you.
All right, Laura, are you all set? Let me see if I can spotlight you here.
Let's see, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay. Well, Happy New Year, everyone. Is it too late to say that already? We're on the 10th. I can't believe it. Yeah, so I'm Laura. I'm one half of Yarn Squirrel, and we've been teaching machine knitting classes at the Longmont Yarn Shop now for, I don't know, a little over a year, and looking forward to continuing that going forward here. We have a whole series of classes coming up through March, and maybe adding a few more after that. We'll see how it goes. The first class is what we call a taste of machine knitting, and it's a class meant to give people who might not have a knitting machine, or perhaps inherited a knitting machine and have no idea what to do with it, to come in and learn some really basic skills and some basics about how that machine operates. If you don't have a knitting machine, we will provide one for you to work on for the class. So don't let that stop you. The whole idea is this gives you a chance to get a taste of what it would be like, to see if it's an art form that you'd be interested in. That class will be January 13th, this coming Saturday at 2. And then we have another one. I think that one's full. And we have another one coming up on March 16th at 9 a.m. So if you're interested, check that out, sign up. If you do have your own machine, I'd like you to check with me so that we can make sure your machine's in working order before you get to the class. It'll be a much better experience in that case. And the store can help put you in touch with me. The other classes that we have are a series of garment skills classes. Yeah, and Gail is holding up a little baby sweater. The idea behind this series is that we will teach you some of the most basic skills you need to make your own garments, moving on after the class. We're going to practice those on the form of a baby sweater. You don't have to finish the baby sweater. You don't even have to take all 3 of the classes. But if you do, you should be able to complete the baby sweater that Gail's holding up there. The first class is January 20th. It's a 2-hour session, and it's called Swatching to Pattern Conversion. In machine knitting, the whole idea of swatching is a little bit different than in hand knitting, but it's crucial to getting things to fit, just like hand knitting. The good thing about machine knitting is you can swatch much more quickly, try different tensions and different stitches very quickly. You will make your swatch outside of the class. You'll need your own machine in order to do this, or access to a machine. You'll bring your finished swatch to the class per the instructions that are on the description of the class. And then we'll teach you how to properly measure that swatch, and then how to convert from those measurements with your yarn to a pattern. And this class could actually apply to hand knitters as well, but it gives you skills to go from taking things like from a schematic in a magazine or a book. You can see it. This is a sweater I'm working on right now, converting. But you can convert from a schematic like this and now know how to machine knit it. After that class, you will need to bring your machines to the next two classes if you join us. The next one is called Necklines and Basic Shaping. And in that class, we will teach you how to divide a sweater. Here's another little baby sweater, but how to divide a sweater, do your shaping up for the armholes, and then divide to be able to do a neckline. It's a kind of tricky skill for beginners to learn, but after this class, you'll be able to do it. Then the third class is bands and finishing, and the sweater that Gail was holding up has a nice example of the bands that we'll be teaching on there. So, but that one will help you finish off those edges so they don't roll. The neckline bands and the front bands will teach some buttonhole techniques and so on. So I think you can see a nice back stitch there on the front, but that we'll finish that up in that class. Gail has kindly put an incentive in there for anyone who wants to take all three classes. Correct me if I'm wrong, Gail. Yeah, anyone who takes all three classes, you get a gift certificate, I believe, to Longmont Yarn Shoppe. So seriously consider that. We hope to see you there. And then lastly, we've got the 3-hour beanie class, and that one will be on March 2nd. This class, when we've taught it, everyone walks out with a finished beanie, or they only have to sew one seam up when they're done, but I think everyone's finished them. It's an excellent class, teaches you basic skills like how to hang a hem, and so on. You can go from this class to adding your Fair Isle patterning and get much fancier on it. But in this class, you should be able to walk out with a finished beanie, and it's an excellent second step to the Taste of Machine Knitting class. So hope to see you there. And yeah, let me know if you have any questions, or if you have a machine that needs to be checked out before a class, please do contact me. Thank you.
We can't hear anything, no sound.
On the top, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Think
All
we're
right.
back.
My first class is the Advantageous Shawl. This is a 9-session class that will be held on Zoom. We're going to do it mostly on the 2nd and 4th Sundays of the month. And the way it works is we're just going to work through a different section of this shawl each session. There's some slipped stitches and texture at the beginning to ease us in. There's this beautiful 2 different motifs of mosaic knitting. There's some other fun textured stitches. There's cables. There's short rows. There's short rows with lace. There's another 2-colored textured stitch here, and then more short rows, more multicolor, blah, blah, blah. Then we'll finish off with some baubles, and finally this fun honeycomb pattern. This is going to be an investment in your knitting time and skills. It's definitely geared towards building your skills. So this is more for maybe a advanced beginner to intermediate knitter if you're ready to learn some new different things. But this was a really fun project, and I think that everybody will enjoy making this.
I mentioned that we're taking the start date off.
Oh yeah,
February.
the start date on the website had it like in
Sunday.
on Sunday. We're gonna push this back like a month just to give people time to get their kits together and to get there is going to be a little bit of homework. This beginning plain section needs to be done before the first section. So small change on the date, but everything else is the same for that. So that's the first one. The next class I have is the basic knitted socks, top down. Here's the sample. And this is just your classic learn how to knit a pair of socks. The pattern is either for DK weight or sock weight yarn. I would suggest DK just because there's fewer stitches, so it goes a little quicker. This will be a 3-session in-person class. And at the end of it, you will have all the skills you need to make basically any pair of socks. So that will be a great one. Next, we have the road trip hat, which is I have 2 samples. We thought we lost the first sample I made, and then Gail found it. So we have 2 different samples. This is kind of a great free pattern. It's sized baby all the way through a adult large hat. And this will be a class to learn how to do cable knitting. It's just 1 session. It will be in person. I've taught this several times now. It always goes great. And the hats are amazing to wear and to give as gifts or to keep for yourself. Oh, one more thing. There is a little bit of homework with this class. You do need to knit the bottom ribbing part just so that you can do the actual cables in class. Otherwise, you won't be able to do the whole brim and work on the cables during the actual class. The next class is how to fix your mistakes. So this is a class where you'll bring a couple different swatches that you'll make beforehand, and we're just going to go through how to fix your mistakes. So if you purl your knits or knit your purls, if you drop stitches, if other funky things go wrong, we're just going to go through how to fix all of those. There is going to be 1 class in February, and then it will be offered a second time in April. It's 1 session both times, but this is a great class for beginners. So we are going to offer that twice this year. Next is the Norwegian mittens for Mimi. I don't see those.
The Norwegian
The mittens.
Oh,
Okay.
sorry.
So these are a stranded color work mitten. It's a DK weight pattern, so it goes a little more quickly than a lot of the fingering weight patterns that I prefer to make. Here they come. Gail and I have put together some really cute kits that are in the shop. So here's the sample that I made. They're just really great 2-color mittens.
So cute.
Or you can make them, the kits we put together, one of them, it has 1 main color, and then each one of these motifs is a different color. And then there was another kit with 2 motifs in 1 color and 2 in the other. So you can buy one of those kits, or you can take whatever yarn that you want in DK weight and make these mittens. This is a 2-session class, and it is pretty flexible. You can learn how to knit mittens if you've never done that before. You can work or learn stranded color work, so knitting with 2 colors at the same time. I think that this will be a great flexible class for a lot of different people. So I hope you join me for that one. Next is one I'm really excited about. I have kind of fallen down a rabbit hole of knitting with unspun yarn. So I brought a sample right here. This is called pencil roving. And if you have seen it before, it's just wool, but it's not spun. So it kind of just pulls apart like this. But you can knit with this, and it makes just the most lightweight, beautiful fabric, you guys. And it's still just as strong as any knitted fabric once it's made up. But we are going to special order in some of this unspun roving. So the oh, it's here. Here we go. This is from Lopi. So this fiber will be provided in the class, and we are going to make the grow hat, which is this one right here. Has this great textured stitch on it. And this class is really just kind of for people that are curious about working with the unspun yarn, because I know that a lot of people, especially online, are excited about it and talk about it a lot, but it's not the most accessible or common thing. So this will be a great one. So I did make this grow hat sample for the class. I also made this tiny baby hat where I held one strand of the Lopi pencil roving with one strand of mohair. And so in the shop, you can just take a look at both of those. So that is a one session in-person class. The fiber is provided, as I said, and we're going to make this great hat. Next, the muscle bra. Here's my shop sample. If you have not seen it, I think last time I checked, there were over 18,000 projects on Ravelry. This is a double thick hat. So you knit like basically a sausage. You start at the top, and the main part of the class is going to be focusing on the cast on, because it's a little tricky and a little finicky. But once you get the top and the increases done, then you just get to knit and knit and knit and knit. And it's the perfect meeting knitting or TV knitting, or when you just want your hands to be busy. And then at the end, you decrease again. And then you end up with the sausage. You fold it double on itself like this, and you have a double knit hat. It's fantastic. It's so nice and cozy. You can fold it up again. It covers your ears with 4 layers of thickness. I think I've made 6. This is the hat that I brought today that I was just wearing. This is the project I keep in my purse when I just am waiting. These are great hats. So if you just want a little help getting started, then come take this class. It is on Zoom. It's just one session, and you'll be all set to make as many of these hats as you want. Okay, next, I am dying to make a field sweater. I don't have a picture or a sample yet because I haven't made it. Claudia, friend of the shop, let us take pictures of hers, and that's what was in the class listing.
I'll share the screen here.
Okay. So this is a bunch of patterns by Camilla Vod. She has a sweater, she has a cardigan, she has a slip over, which is like a vest. I think there's a hat, there's mitts, there might be a shawl now, and a cap. I don't know. She has all the different field things. So this is just going to be a knit along on Zoom. It'll be 3 sessions long. You could pick any of the patterns that you want and just come and hang out with us on Zoom while we all knit this pattern together. I'm really excited about that. Next is the technique roundup. That is just going to be more geared towards beginners. We talk about how to read your yarn label, how to pick yarn for your projects, how to weave in ends, different ways of working a small circumference. So like if you're knitting a hat or something for a baby and can't use a big long circular needle, how do you do that? I taught this class a couple months ago and I think it went really well and everybody kind of brought different questions of their own and it seemed to be very helpful. So if you have questions, then bring your questions, come to this class. It'll be fantastic. It's one session, also in person. Then the last class is not on the website yet. Okay. Should I talk about this or should I skip it?
What the interest is.
Okay. So yeah, let's see if there is interest. Uh-oh, where did my sample go?
Got a clown car over here.
I know. It was like blue and white. A little, I might not have. Okay. I'll just talk about the raw material. So another unspun thing that I enjoy working with is unspun silk. It comes in these hankies. This is the undyed one. So what they do is I think they cut open the cocoons of the silkworm and this is what's left inside. And then you can pull it off in these thin layers and you kind of draft it and knit it as you're going. Just like that. So I wanted to teach a class on how to just work with the unspun silk as well. I have a little kind of a neckerchief type little pattern that I made up somewhere that is lost now. But if there is interest in that, then I definitely would be happy to teach that as well. That I think Gail and I were maybe talking about later in the spring. So there's still time if there's interest in that. That's all 10. Are there
Wow,
any
what's
questions?
That's amazing, Christy. Kathy says yes, interest.
Okay. Cool. All right.
All righty. David's ready to bring his stick.
Hey, David.
Hey, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good.
So glad you're here.
Oh, glad to be here. David Johnson, tapestry weaver. Yeah, tapestry is my passion. And it's interesting for me because weaving, it really embodies this whole sort of philosophy for me. And from anything that is more sort of architectural in its nature, because weaving, when I think about it, it's like building something. A warp is a foundation, and upon that foundation, you build with forms. And they can be either geometric forms, like the poncho that I'm wearing. I wove this based on a Inca design, a pre-Columbian design, geometric in its nature. Or, you can move to tapestry weaving from a much more organic approach. This image woven with sumac knots is literally like painting with yarn and allows you to create in a way that is much more sort of organic. A lot of times I really enjoy this kind of combining more sort of architectural geometric forms with the more sort of organic forms. So in the tapestry class that I teach, you will learn, plain weave, the more geometric approach, as well as sumac weaving, a much more sort of organic approach using a knotting technique. The class is a 3-session class, happens on over a month's time. It's on 3 Saturdays, each Saturday 2 weeks apart from the next class. So, the good thing about that is it gives you an opportunity to go home after that first class, or if you're already at home. This is a hybrid class, meaning that there are Zoom students in this class as well as in-person students. I've taught this a couple of times and it's amazing how well it does work.
Agreed.
And so, it's a 3-session class that, the first class we talk technique. We learn sumac knots. We talk about plain weave. You know, it's like learning your ABCs. You get some foundations on structure. Class 2 really focuses on designing for tapestry. It's interesting. Tapestry is a linear process, as is any sort of weaving. You start at the bottom and build to the top. So I always think about making a weaving like telling a story that, you know, you go through these different chapters from beginning to end, and things kind of evolve as you move along. Traditionally with tapestry weavers, you know, especially in a European context, you know, people work with cartoons. We'll talk about designing with cartoons to control very sort of specific imagery. You know, there's no way in the world that I could have woven this bluebird without having a cartoon behind it. But, you know, it's really fun at times to improvise and play. I mean, if you're a slave to your cartoon, that's not a good thing. You know, you need to be having fun with what you're doing. And it's like when weaving becomes surely labor, you know, that's an issue. So fun is an important thing. Class 3, we talk about finishing techniques and warping the loom. Now, the loom that you will be using is this one. In registering for my class, you will receive this loom as part of your registration for the class. I do the warping for you. It shows up and you're ready to weave class 1 and go with it. You know, and because of this 14-inch by 30-inch format, you'll have one end of your warp that you'll be able to do an experiment on, you know, learning the techniques, trying different things. The pressure is off. Class 2, when we start a cartoon, well, this loom, you can flip it over and you've got a whole other end of the warp to do what we're going to call a completed piece on. So you'll in fact get 2 pieces out of the one warp. Class 3 gives you the opportunity to learn how to rewarp this loom. So it's not like a one class, you know, you're not going to need to be throwing this away. This is a great first loom for you to start out with. So, and again, those of you that are in the Zoom world, this loom will be shipped to you with a selection of yarns that are put together by Longmont Yarn, some beautiful yarns, single ply wools. It's been a very popular class and I hope to see you there. The dates of this class are not until later. You've got a little bit of time to think about this. The dates are April 20, May 5, and May 18. So again, 3 Saturdays over a month's time. Hope to see you there.
Thank you, David.
Thanks. Yeah.
I recommend getting signed up. This one filled up fast.
Yeah. Thanks so much.
Thank you. All right, Pamela. Welcome, welcome.
Hello, good evening, everybody. I am Pamela Schwab. I am new to the Longmont Yarn Shop teaching community. I am a designer, a knitter, a spinner, weaver, and a shepherd. And I love working with color. Color has such a profound impact on how our projects turn out, but I know it can be a little stressful sometimes. Selecting a color palette and anticipating how those colors will sort of play together in the finished object. So I would like to help you take the mystery out of color. This class, the class I'll be teaching is Confidence with Color, an introduction to color theory for fiber artists. It will be on March 2nd in the afternoon. And it's really a short class. It's meant to be kind of a quick and dirty introduction to the fundamentals. We will be looking at knit and woven and hand spun samples to examine how colors sometimes blend, how sometimes they contrast, and how we can manipulate those colors to get the end result we want. And since I know a lot of us don't like to sit in class without keeping our hands busy, I'll bring lots of dyed wool that we will practice blending, so we can really understand what's happening with optical blending as we combine our pre-dyed wool or yarn.
Awesome. Thank you so much. We're excited. There's been definitely lots of requests for a class like that.
Excellent, because I'm excited to teach it.
Thank you so much. All right. And next we have Deborah, who is our 2D needle felting teacher, guru. Not sure what I was going to say. Teacher.
Okay, so should I?
Go ahead, take it away.
Okay, so I'm Deborah Cocoli, and I've been teaching here once a month on Sundays, Sunday afternoon, and we typically have a small but fun, really fun class. So I do felting. This is a piece that I did, an original piece that I did, looking at a photo of a. But what we've been doing in the class is basically an introduction to needle felting. So the shop has lots of different options of kits. Here's a couple that people have used and been really happy with what they've done. Beginners, all very beginners. This was another one that we did. And basically you get the kit that you want. You come into the shop and you pick up the kit that you want. And then I kind of introduce the technique of needle felting. And then we figure out how to do your particular kit. And I give you tips and help and show you what to do and help you with anything you need help with. And typically at the end of the 3 hours, you have something to take home with you and hang it on the wall. So that's what's happening in my class.
Yes, and students really seem to love being able to pick out their own kit and then having Deborah's expertise in getting it completed.
Right. So the very first class we did, everybody did this one. And that was terrific. Everybody had a lot of fun. But then I thought, well, pick the one that you want. So that, like I said, there's a lot of choices, and they're simple enough for a beginner, and it just basically, it's a really wonderful introduction to this very satisfying, I love doing it, technique of making a picture.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Deborah.
Thank you. I
look
hope
forward
that,
to it.
Yeah, I hope that I hope some people come.
Yes, thank you for showing your piece.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Miss Beth, are you ready? Sure. Come on over. This is Beth Fowler.
So I am facilitating a weaving study group and we're kind of a group of harness weavers, 4 and 8 shaft. It's about as high as we got, but people that have moved beyond rigid heddle mostly into harness weaving and wanted to meet fellow weavers, and we started it in the fall. And what we have done so far is we're working through this book, which has chapters. We're kind of doing a chapter a month on a lot of the, I think, common weave structures that most people that weave pretty regularly would recognize. So we just finished Overshot, and here's like an example of an Overshot design. This one is called Rose because it makes little circles. And this one is called Star because you've got more of a point kind of design. But this could be accomplished with the same threading on your loom. So it's a good way to understand this weave structure is to weave something like these little placemats or samples. We're going to finish the book this spring and then kind of delve into whatever people are interested in learning about. I brought something today that I worked on over the holidays, which is a iridescent project that I wove.
Ooh, wow.
And it kind of gets a shimmer, looks like an oil slick to me. But this was done on 8 shafts, so everybody was pretty excited about it. So we might, at some future point, talk more about how this can be, constructed. But what we're trying to do in this group is really let it be more, I think, flowing based on the needs and wants of the students that are coming. We had 10 people come today. So people are bringing in work that they've finished or work that they have questions about. And we're talking about tips and tricks. And so it's really an experiment. And trying to create a community of people that are interested in weaving and want to get together and just see where we go. So any questions?
Awesome. And there's sort of, people could come every week or not,
Well,
right?
it's once a month.
Or once a month.
Yeah, it's once a month. And honestly, we're gonna, we did a weave structure today. We talked about a weave structure called Summer and Winter, which is a geometric weave structure. It's kind of blocky. We're gonna move into lace in February, and that kind of would round out this book, which is what we've been stepping through. And then we're gonna see what everybody wants to do, because there's many, many, many more weave structures. I know Sarah, who teaches here, is gonna do a double weave class, which is a more advanced structure. One thing I'm thinking about is, beyond the iridescent is crackle, which is an interesting weave structure. So it's more or less what people have either read about, heard about, seen a project in a magazine, and want to try. And not everybody has to work on the same thing. That's one of the points of the classes. We're not really doing projects. We're really trying to learn from each other, with some discussion of a topic, maybe 30 minutes, and then it's more or less show and tell, sharing, discussion. So that's the format.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Beth.
Yeah, thank you guys. I hope you come try it out. I think Gail's letting people try it because it is an experiment. So if you're a weaver, come join us.
Thank you for showing your pieces. Those are
All right.
beautiful.
Take care.
All right. And Kathy, I believe you are next, Kathy. Let me see if I can spotlight you here. How are you this evening?
I'm good, Anne. How are you?
I'm wonderful, thank you.
Good, good.
Oh,
It is
take
good
it
to
away.
be here. What an exciting lineup of classes. And the one thing that they all have in common is there's probably some way that Ravelry will make the experience even better. And that's my role here for the Longmont Yarn Shop. I'm really pleased to be the teacher for Ravelry. I think Ravelry is a terrific tool, not only for exploring and finding out about patterns and yarns, sharing ideas, seeing how other people put a pattern together, but also for networking, connecting, and making friends around the country. So you're using Ravelry if you've bought a pattern online through the store, but have you you really dug in and made it your own by trying out some of the opportunities to keep your notebook where you keep your projects, maybe catalog your stash. There's so much that you can do with Ravelry, and I'm really excited to be able to help people figure out the best way to make it a great tool for your crafting. I do this in, we have 2-level courses. We have Ravelry 101. That's pretty basic. You know, you come, you've got your Ravelry account, but maybe all you've done is bought a pattern. Maybe you've put a little favorite heart on a few things. You're not quite sure how to sort the stuff that you've been collecting there, and we'll go through the basics. We'll do a walk around the Ravelry neighborhood and learn all the various tools and how you might be able to put those to good use. Then the second class, Ravelry 201, not surprisingly, does this sound like a class progression? This is a place where we'll dig in more deeply into particular topics that are of interest to the students in the class. And so that'll really take off on what your concerns and interests are, what you'd like to do. Oh, excuse me. But one thing we always do is I show you how to use Ravelry as a travel tool. So Ravelry is fun, how to find yarn shops and such. Excuse my coughing. But I do hope you'll sign up and join the classes.
Thank you, Kathy. Thank you so much. All right. We have Mark and Darla. Welcome to the spotlight. And let me remove the spotlight here. There we go.
There we go. Well, hi, folks. Darla and Mark from Warp and Woolens here. We have 2 classes on offer this season for you. The first is an introduction to drop spindle. So folks that are new to spinning, drop spindle is a very approachable way to learn to spin. It's a nice entry point. It's not an expensive tool, and it's very portable. It's something you can take with you to a coffee shop, or if you're flying on an airplane, it can go with you very much like knitting can. As an experienced spinner, I spun for over a decade before I took up spindle, and I found that it's also very helpful for improving my drafting. Now, when I want to tune up technique, I go back and pick up my spindle. All of our classes that we teach are very supportive, and they're very low key. So our goal for a beginning class like drop spindle or tatting that we'll talk about in a minute is to help people anchor in technique sufficiently that they can practice at home for all of the elements, the basic elements they need to perfect the craft. We're not trying to make the Taj Mahal on day one. We're learning technique, and we offer some guide patterns for you to take along with you. The second class is Intro to Tatting.
Shuttle
Yeah,
tatting.
shuttle tatting. Darla has a shuttle there. You can see it. Another wonderful portable craft. The whole kit for that can fit in a small thing in your pocket. And this is one of the ways of making lace. And the fun thing about either of these crafts is if you go in that coffee shop or down to the brew pub and you have one of these, people will come up and chat with you because chances are they haven't seen one before, or grandma used to do it, and they want to tell you all about their experience as a child, and it's a happy conversation. So we hope some folks will consider taking these classes. It's a great way to learn 2 wonderful portable heritage crafts.
Yes, I always enjoy the little click click of the shuttle. You know what I mean? When you unroll it.
And the fun thing about shuttle tatting is you can do very simple elements to make some beautiful and useful things. So again, I like the word approachable. It's not hard to learn, but the sky's the limit as far as what you can do to make with it.
Amazing. Thank you both. And I know we have a couple dates for all of those. There's a few date options for the drop spindle and the shuttle tatting. So
Great.
thank you so much.
Right.
Appreciate it. All right. And let's see. I think maybe if Robin is here, you are next. Let me just look here. Let's see.
Is Robin's on the list? Is Robin here?
Robin, are you ready?
Yeah, or Kathy's here too. Is Kathy gone? Okay, of course she has. It's escaped. But it is Robin.
Got her. See. Hi, Robin.
Yay.
I'm here.
Hey, welcome, Robin. Robin
Hi.
is our Inkle teacher, and she's doing an in-person class, and we can't wait to hear all about Inkle weaving from Robin.
Okay. Thank you for inviting me. I'm teaching an inkle weaving class on August 6th. If you're thinking about dipping your toe into weaving, it's a great way to get started. And there's more that you can do besides just make belts and straps. You can, and bookmarks. You can also make other things with inkle bands, mug rugs. It's a beginning class, so you do not have to have any previous weaving experience, and because I'll help you get along in there. We do have some looms that you can use, so you don't even have to invest in a loom to start out. There's also yarn at the shop, or you can use some of mine for a small materials fee. So I hope you will join me with inkle weaving and find out all the fun things that you can make with inkle bands.
Okay, and
Thank
Robin,
you.
you're very modest, but can you share how long you've been teaching inkle weaving?
Teaching, oh, well, I've been weaving for over 50 years. I do multi-harness weaving also, but inkle weaving is something I still go back to. It's a nice rhythmic weaving technique that I still enjoy. So I would love to have you join me, and it's an in-person class. It's not Zoom. So you do need to be there with me. I haven't learned how to do that Zoom thing yet, as far as teaching is concerned.
That's okay. We love having you teach with us in person. It's a great experience. So glad to see you in April.
All right.
Did we get the tatting class questions answered?
Oh, I didn't see that one.
We'll put those dates in the chat. So, okay, well, everybody's kind of trickling out the front door and the back door, and I'm going to try to quickly hit on some of the classes that our teachers were not able to make it. So, take Robin off the hot seat. First of all, just those of you that are hanging on and still here, thank you for making Longmont Yarn Shop part of your evening. We started teaching at the rec center here in Longmont and out of my house, and some of the teachers that are teaching tonight are students that I had way back in 2011, 2010. It was a long time ago that we started doing this, and we've really been excited that our students have been asking for more classes, and people have stepped up the plate to be our teachers, and our community is growing. And then the pandemic turned out to be sort of a mixed blessing for us to offer the Zoom classes. So it's been a great experience. Who's not represented in person tonight is Stephanie Flynn Sokolov, is out tonight with a family member and couldn't make it, but she is our spinning teacher. And so she's got a 3-session in-person class called Spinning 101. The first session, you get a lot of practice working on a drop spindle. The second class, you go home and practice your drop spindle and come back and learn all about plying your yarn. Then you go home and knit or crochet or weave with the yarn that you've made. And when you come back to the third session, you get a chance. She actually works for Shack Spindle Company and has a small fleet of spindles or spinning wheels herself that she brings to class. And so you get to do a little round robin in the classroom and try out a variety of spinning wheels with Stephanie's guidance. So she's a Mensa on Shack products and really very knowledgeable about all spinning wheels. So that's one of her classes. She's also going to teach blending colors with hand cards coming up this spring on a Saturday. And so she's going to Part of your class includes bringing your cards in and blending 3 different colors of roving. That'll be part of the supply fee in the class to get experience with creating color and learning how to balance the different colors to get the results you want. And in the afternoon of March 9th, she's also going to do an in-depth session on Andy and plying with a drop spindle, which she's famous for having that skill down pat. So Andy and plying with Stephanie is that afternoon. The other thing that Stephanie is really talented in is needle felting. So we usually get to convince her to teach at least one class of needle felting. She had a classroom full of Santa Gnome folks on December 2nd. We offered 2 sessions and they were back there. It was a very loud party. So this I'm sure will be as fun and exciting. She's teaching the needle felted bunny that you will be able to make with Stephanie in 3 hours. Has a really cute glass eye in the kit that you use, and then take it home and it'll be sitting on your desk for Easter or spring or whatever little bunny brings into your life. So I think I've covered Stephanie's classes. Let's see. Sarah is our weaving teacher. I'll speak a little bit to the weaving. So she's teaching a harness class. And when you take a weaving class with Longmont Yarn Shoppe, since day one, we have never asked anybody to go invest in a rigid heddle or a harness loom in order to participate, because honestly, you might love knitting or crochet, but you sit down and work on a loom and you go, this is not my sport. So you want to speak to that, Melanie? Melanie's an avid weaver and it's fun to listen to. Let's hear about.
Yeah, I did want to speak to the harness loom weaving class because I took Sarah's harness loom weaving class about 2 springs ago, and it really got me to the point of I would consider myself a very adventurous beginner, even with weaving. I want to give it a shot myself, and that ended up with quite a lot of tears. And my lovely boyfriend was like, I don't think this is really how this is supposed to go. Like, I think this should be more fun for you. So I took her class and she really demystified the warping process, the weaving process, and made it really accessible, I think. Just step by step, she's very calm. She walks you through it. And by the end, you really feel confident that you can, I would say, warp without tears. So it's a great introduction to harness loom weaving. It's really exciting. She's always wearing a really fabulous piece that she's hand woven herself, which is really inspiring. So I would definitely recommend her harness loom class. It's going to give you the most experience in a variety of types of weaving and weaving structures. So her rigid heddle class is fantastic. Her harness loom class is fantastic. I think they'll give you quite a lot of experience. Am I speaking to a couple of hers?
A little bit about just the basic rigid heddle if you want.
Yes. Okay. So the basic rigid heddle, I think, is a great introduction to weaving. My own mom is really interested in weaving, so we set her up with a 30-inch flip loom from Shacked, and she's really excited to get going. What's great about rigid heddle is that you can do direct warping, which makes the preparation, if you think about it as like when you're in the kitchen cooking, the prep time takes, half the time. Same thing with weaving. Warping takes about half the time, but with rigid heddle, it actually makes the warping process very straightforward and significantly quicker. So I would say if you're not sure where to go into weaving, but you want to take an initial class, rigid heddle is a great place to start. You don't have to worry about more factors involved. You get to go right to the satisfying plain weave, or even take it up a notch and do some pickup stick action. So there's a lot you can do with rigid heddle, but it's a great place to start. I would definitely recommend her rigid heddle weaving class. And I know another more advanced class she's teaching is also the pooled one that's in your hand right there. And this is a really nice rigid heddle class, and a great example of a more advanced or more intricate technique, I would say, other than just doing plain, a simple plain weave. This is the spaced and crammed scarf. And what's really nice is this uses a variable dent reed, this uses the 10 dent reed. Okay, so maybe what you're doing is actually bunching up your lace weight in that white column to give you this thicker and thinner effect. So she can teach you different ways to get certain effects to make a really nice pattern there. So this is using, I think, a lace weight from Zephyr Jaegerspun. Really high quality wool scarf. And you can maybe use a fringe twister to give yourself a nice finished look there. So this is a beautiful, very popular shop sample. So you can learn how to do the pooled scarf.
He's also teaching double weave on the rigid kettle, but that just filled up today.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll just mention it quickly because so her double weave on the rigid heddle filled up. Double weave allows you to double up your weaving width. So when you have a loom, you're restricted to the width of your loom. So oh, we have one seat available. Here we go. Maybe this is your seat here. If you've got maybe a 15-inch loom and you've gotten really good at that, but you want to make something a little bit bigger, a thicker shawl perhaps, or a baby blanket, you can actually make a 30-inch scarf by doing double weave. So you're doing almost 2 layers of fabric with connection at one end and you're leaving the second end unconnected. So it's a great technique. It's a really interesting way to make a bigger project. Maybe you could do, I know Scott really wants a cloak, a woven cloak. So that would be a great use of the double weave technique. So one seat available there. That's a great class to learn.
Specific to the
Harness loom, yes.
Awesome. Don't we
Alright.
love Melanie?
Thank you. Hope you guys join us.
She's like the paparazzi. She's been here at the store. You'll see all kinds of pictures from me, the teacher, on her social media because she's been taking.
Whether our teachers liked it or not, they were
There
good
you go.
sports.
They were good sports. Okay. Amanda Eastman was a customer, still is a customer of ours, and she's in and out of the shop buying supplies and resources. And Hannah, one of our staff members that moved to Denver, she's like, you need to get Amanda to teach classes. And I'm like, okay. So she came in and she's like, I could teach. So this is a class she taught from a kit, the little needle felted squirrel last fall. And he's adorable. And we had people driving up from Colorado Springs to take class with Amanda, and they were having the best time back in the back of the store. She's got some classes coming up. I'll start with the first one. This is the needle felted seal and pup. Little sweet thing from a kit that we have. We source our kits from the Crafty Kit Company in the United Kingdom, and they make the most amazing kits with great instructions. So if you don't want to do a class, but you want to freestyle it on your own, you'll have a great experience with the Crafty Kit supplies. Always generous with their supplies, so you never run out of roving. And I really think they take time in sourcing good eyes and roving. So that's the needle felted seal and pup. We don't have the sample in the store yet, but we will. The next class she's teaching is the owl family. These are pretty sweet and cute. These 3 wise owls in your home could surely bring a smile. And then the next class she's teaching is using a going gnome kit, and she's going to teach the needle felted bluebirds. And this little fat, plump bluebird could grace your spring cute area. If you come to class, there's enough in this kit to make 2 of them. And sometimes we don't get 100% of a project done in the 3 hours, but you definitely leave with the confidence to finish your project, because this does take more than 3 hours. Who did I miss? Sandy. Okay, so Sandy was our sweater guru in the days when she was here working at the store, and she used to teach the custom fit class that we offered with Amy Herzog, design. My head's escaping me, but the Amy Herzog knit to fit, flit to flatter,
fit to flatter.
Yeah. And took a lot of training around that. And then since then she's moved. We miss her dearly, but what's pretty cool, we're not sure who's breaking into the front of the store. But she's moved, but she teaches from Montana on Zoom a thing called Sweater Club. So Sweater Club meets for 2 months, 4 times for 2 hours on Tuesdays on Zoom. It starts at 4 o'clock Mountain Time. And what she has done is picked a designer for each 2-month series. Currently they're in the Carol Sunday designs and working through a sweater. And the next Sweater Club series kicks off. I just had it. I think it kicks off in
February 6th.
February 6th on Tuesday. And what you do is you would pick any Erin Dottery. She's Blue Bee Designs on Ravelry. And you can knit any of her designs. And what do you get out of Sweater Club? You come to your first session with your gauge swatch knit. Sandy can answer pretty much any question you have around knitting a sweater, checking your gauge, sizing, and it's a great source of community. There's people that come to Sweater Club month after month after month. And so I don't want you to feel like this isn't a group you can't break into, because it's a club, because they are all very welcoming and inclusive, and it'd be a fun place for you to knit sweaters in community. So those are the classes. I just really want to quickly mention Fiberside chats. You know, we kept thinking, well, this is going to get us through the pandemic, and it did provide not only a source of revenue for us and our 37 collaborating shops, by hosting famous guests that were stuck in their respective homes because of the pandemic as well. And we all got to get together on Zoom, but after we started opening up and thought, okay, will this still be of interest to people? People are like, no, we still want to meet designers from all over the world. We still want to spend time every couple of weeks with Longmont Yarn Shoppe and our fellow Zoomers learning about different things. So coming up in, well, we had an unfortunate situation in that our guest, Susan Crawford, had a health emergency last Sunday. And so we're working on rescheduling her session. And she was going to talk about her new book that she's published called Echoes. And it's 22 designs inspired by iconic women. So she has a Chanel sweater inspired by Princess Di. And I mean, I can't do justice to the description. Maybe we can put a link in the chat to her chat description, but she is going to get rescheduled. So that's a chat that's coming up. And then our friend Carson Demers is a physical therapist and also a fiber artist. And he is going to talk on January 19th about knitting New Year's resolutions. And I don't know about you, but I used to hear people come into the store and talk about wrist pain and hand pain. And I'm like, wow, that is a drag. And now I'm like, oh, this is a drag. And I'm like, I'm going to be in the front row of his class because he's talking about how to knit sustainably and make sure that none of us make mistakes or consider what we could do to have a year of growth and helping our knitting skills grow without hurting ourselves. And he's got a book that he's published that could be of interest to you after you hear his chat. So that's Carson Demers on January 21st. And then Helen Robertson was recommended to us. She is going to talk to us about the Shetland Islands, where she lives and designs and has been hosting tours and groups over the years. So she's going to talk about her Shetland heritage and the different techniques that she's practiced and developed, and also some things that are a little non-traditional, like wire knitting and fizzy fair isle and ragtime knitting. So, and then February 18th, we, Longmont Yarn Shoppe, took a trip to Ireland last spring. It was amazing. Took two groups to Ireland. And part of that trip included taking classes with Carol Feller, amazing knitwear designer who has a background in engineering. So it explains clearly why her patterns are written very strategically and deliberately and successful for the knitter who's working through them. She's going to give us a tour on the Irish yarn production mill history and talk about the different mills and why they were formed and their heritage and what inspired them to source the wool that they do and what their future is looking like. She also, through her process and her research, has designed sweaters. And so she's going to walk us through her book, Contemporary Irish Knits, where she's designed sweaters based on the yarns at the different mills in Ireland. We heard that class in person with some of the folks that were touring with us, or that talk in person. And it seemed just too important to not share it with our Fiberside community. So she agreed to come and teach. So that's Fiberside chats. And there'll be more coming up. We're always planning. So you guys shutting down the house at 7:49 Mountain Time. It's quiet in here. It was pretty rowdy earlier, but let's see how many people. We still have 31 people here. So let's just recap here. You guys participated in Meet the Teacher, and I hope it was valuable to you. I'm going to put it on gallery view and remove the spotlight at least. Yeah. Let's see else. I see a heart from, is it Nari or Neri? Whatever. However-
Nari.
Nari, thanks for the
Yes.
heart. That was
Thank
super
you.
Yeah. Does anybody out there want to throw out any questions? I know Beth's given us a heart. Thank you, Beth. That means the world to us. And Laura, look at that, Ann. Wednesday night
Yay.
at the yarn shop. We're getting hearts, high
Yes.
fives from Nancy.
That's awesome.
Oh, thank you, Gloria. So, yeah, and Lynn's holding your hand. She's up there in Wyoming. Always good to have you, Lynn. Thank you for joining
Everybody
us.
looks nice and cozy.
Yeah, boy, we're
Yes.
gonna get some snow this weekend, and it's gonna get cold. So hunker down
Yes.
with your yarn.
Mhm.
But so I was like 51 people signing up for Meet the Teacher. That's insane. So I'm trying to figure out how to. Our point of sale, our computer does not allow us to give you a coupon code or do something to reduce the class fees. It's really a pain in the baducci. Oh, snow in Calgary, says Susanna. Okay, stay warm. So the process to give you your bonus is a phone call to manually edit the price of the class and then process your purchase. And we ask that you do it. Huga, yes, Huga. Will the class with Carson be beneficial to crochet? I know that he's aware of crochet needs, and I'm going to ask Carson if he can speak to that, because he talks about positioning your arms and your body and
Wrists,
wrists and exercises. So I would say it's inclusive, but I want to make sure that I'm not speaking wrong. So Rachel, Courtney, I will ask that, and I'll, you know what, we can answer that question and put it in the recording when we send it out. So that way that will be kind of a loop. So I'm pasting that in an email so that I can ask Carson. So what I was thinking was a couple things could happen for your bonus. So you could call to the store and say, I'm signing up for X, Y, and Z, and the staff will take your credit card over the phone and process it, or and get it through, and you'll get that incentive. The other option is you could email the store and say, this is the best time to call me, and these are the classes I want. And so they can pull up your name and pull up those classes and have it on pause or like on hold, and then call you and get the credit card over the phone. Or a third option, which I thought of this morning, was you could sign up for all the classes at the regular price and then put in the notes, I was at Meet the Teacher, send me a gift certificate for the value of the classes that I would have been getting discounted. And so that might just make life easier for you, and we'll get you a email out to you with the gift certificate for 5, 10, 15, depends on, of course, how many classes you sign up for. And then you don't have to get, I know it feels weird to give credit cards over the phone. I don't like that either, but it's, so those are the 3 suggestions I have for how you can tap into the benefit of your Meet the Teacher bonus. So, and yeah, what else do we need to?
Sounds good.
It was
Good
a
ideas.
long time together, but I know you guys out there are all knitting and maybe having a nice cozy beverage. There's no idle hands. I'm sure Gloria's patting Gracie and knitting at the same time. Oh, let's see. What's Gloria got? Gloria's just oh my, is that new? Okay. I don't remember your cat being so black.
There's a question from Laura.
Question for Laura. The gift card option sounds easy enough. Okay, good. Jennifer's knit along isn't listed because Jennifer just told us what she was doing today. So I think it'll be the typical knit along price. And I got the dates from her a few days ago. We agreed on when it would work, but we didn't know it was like a mystery knit along. So, oh, speaking of knit alongs, and if you want to sign up for this, I don't think we're going to charge much for this anyway. This is the friendship knit along. Remove the spotlight for Gloria. I'm going to lead a knit along for the friendship shawl that Malabrigo is hosting in March, but I don't have enough of the information about their dates and their process that I want to wait. But what we'll learn in that or do together is knit this very easy rhythmic shawl that has 8 rows of garter stitch, And then 4 rows of lace and 3 colors that you can choose of Dos Tierras. The friendship shawl is the theme. And then I think, you'll learn about reading your knitting, increases on the edge of your selvage, decreases on the other end, slip stitches, and then the weave and Steven method of working in your ends, because you do cut your yarn several times along the process. So the weave and Steven is the way to go. So that'll be on the schedule, and we'll do that either hybrid or on Zoom. So oh my God. But I know some of you have peeled out. Those of you that are hanging on to the end, thank you. Anne's amazing, isn't she? She's like, there's smoke coming out of her fingers here. So
it's great to see everybody, and we appreciate everybody being here.
We sure did. So, all right, Susanna, we'll look for your classes and match you against the roster for Meet the Teacher and send you a gift card if you didn't, because I don't know how you would have gotten the discount otherwise, unless you talked to Cheryl in the back. So, all right, well, you guys are the reason why we're here, and we're honored that you spent the evening with us, and we're gonna turn out the lights and go home ourselves. So Diane, oh, thank you, Diane. You're a very loyal customer, so we look forward to having you in classes. All of you guys means a lot. Hope we'll get some people in Ann Bud's class. That sign up has been a little slower than we were expecting, so we're anxious to get 8 people to get that class to go. So need a few more. We'll see if anybody signed up tonight. All right, gang, I'm gonna turn it off. Night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night. Thank you.
You bet.
Take care.